Today, I want to talk about how to lose fat. People can get jacked, but if you're not that lean, getting jacked kind of isn't as good as it could be if you were a bit more lean. So today, I want to do one-stop shop, ultimate breakdown, fat loss. What is the fundamental physiology when it comes to fat loss?
So if you download the RP Diet Coach app, it actually makes tiny little app molecules that go into your bloodstream and make you happy and lean. No, wait, the plug was supposed to be for later. The fundamental physiology of getting leaner is a question of sort of what is your body fat there to do? And your body fat there is there to do a few things for you. It lubricates your joints. It provides some of the architecture to your cell surfaces, etc. But adipose tissue is a subcategory of all of your body fat. And it's designed a little bit to protect internal organs and some other things like that. But it's mostly designed as an energy reservoir because in our evolved ancestral timeline, everything up until modernity, food availability was predictably intermittent, which means you had some food today, maybe a lot of food. Maybe the tribe killed a mammoth or something. And if you could only eat what was there and then you got full and you were like, meh, and you kind of buzzed off, then the day after, it's rotting mammoth and you can't eat it anymore. And if you didn't gorge yourself like crazy and have somewhere to put that mammoth stuff, then in the next maybe 2 weeks that you didn't get a lot of food, some fraction of the people with that particular kind of adaptation that wasn't prone to or physiologically anatomically able to store excess energy away was just going to die, and their ancestors would not have and did not reproduce, which is why all extant humans today have the ability to store adipose tissue as a reservoir for calories, energy that we can use for later because of that predictable intermittency of calorie availability. It's curious that we're talking about how to lose fat. Notice we're not talking about how to gain fat because we're really already super good at that. You've got a lot of seminars for people about how to get someone to work harder. How do I improve my diligence? Have you ever been to a laziness seminar? It would be absurd. Some people need it for sure. You and I probably do.
Yes.
But for most people, it's like, well, just like that's the default state. So for most people, the ability to gain body fat is default precisely because evolution has designed us to be damn good at that, precisely because we used to be intermittently starving. So when you get a bunch of food in you, it goes to a few places. The first place once the food exits the GI tract that it goes is the bloodstream, broken down into various molecules. Amino acids, which are the subcomponents of proteins, carbohydrates, typically glucose, fructose, as well as various parts of fat. And there's some places for them to go. Some of them just go through the bloodstream and get absorbed by all the various cells of your body. I mean, your brain cells need food, your liver cells need food, every cell needs food. And they just go and are used right in the cell right there. Some of those molecules of food, so to speak, are used to raise your blood sugar enough so that, if you don't have food for the next 15 minutes, you're not just going to drop over dead or something like that. Still another part can go into putting a little bit of fat into your skeletal muscle. Your skeletal muscle inside of itself has a little bit of fat reserve, which is cool. It serves some cool functions. It's not a lot of reserve. And still another part, and there's a couple of parts I'm sort of skipping for conciseness to a little bit, is mostly carbohydrate gets loaded as what's called glycogen. And that's just a lot of carbohydrate and it's stored in your liver and a lot goes to your skeletal muscles, which is why when you mega cram in a bunch of carbs, the next day you kind of look beefier and you're like, what the hell is going on? Because that glycogen brings in another roughly 3 grams of water for every gram of carbohydrate you bring in. So it really gets you going. But that's all measured in the hundreds to several thousands of calories that you can put away into your body. If that's all you were capable of, you'd be unreal lean all the time, and in our ancestral environment, dead in a few days, or emaciated from muscle loss. So once you fill all the calorie needs for the moment, you have to put the calories somewhere else. Once your glycogen stores are relatively full, they don't accept any more food. Your muscles, unfortunately, technically don't act as a reservoir of excess calories or amino acids. Wouldn't that be sweet? You just like eat a ton of Thanksgiving dinner and you just wake up
more
with that much more jacked.
Yep.
Where it goes, for the most part, in that excess number of calories eaten that isn't attending to your, let's say, daily needs, is it goes to your adipose tissue, your subcutaneous and intra-abdominal layers and layers of body fat. Now, this tissue is specifically designed to do mostly one thing, which is take any kind of calorie, transform it, and it gets transformed in various places, including in the fat cells themselves, into very easy to store fats. So you can eat proteins. They generally don't get converted to fat super simply, but they can displace other food and then that food gets converted to fats. Carbs get converted to fats, and fats need only minimal modification for transport and storage. And now everything basically vectors into fat. That fat gets stored into fat cells, and there it chills. It's got metabolic activity. It's got a ton of hormonal activity, but fat stores adipose tissue isn't nearly as metabolically active as most other tissue. It's like a fuel tank, more or less. And there your fat sits. Now, if you keep eating a lot of food over and over, your body's like, man, I know that famine's coming soon, but not today, baby. We're packing it in. And it turns out one of the reasons why humans are able to get unbelievably fat in many cases is because there was really no selective pressure in evolution for a top-end limit of too much fat. How you would evolve that selective pressure is you would have to have humans evolve for at least thousands of years in an insane food abundance environment. And then the people that got cardiovascular disease or were mobile or found unattractive by mates because they were too fat, they would winnow out and eventually everyone would kind of look like, I don't know, the average Nigerian person who's just stripped to bits for no reason and just got it all, right? So people can get unreal fat because your fat's kind of like a super welcoming giant corporate hotel. People check in and it's like, we got room for you, no problem. More people check in, it's like, hey, build another side of the hotel. It builds another side and it just keeps going. So the question is, on fat burning, how do we get the guests to check out of the hotel? And there's really only one way to do it. And that is stop sending guests in or send in less. Because if you have a situation where you're eating a certain amount of food and it's fulfilling only your daily needs, what we call maintenance calories, your body fat doesn't get re-upped, and then it just stays the same. It can't possibly grow because there's no food being shuttled for it to grow. If you eat less than maintenance, let's say 250 calories, less than all of your body processes need to keep you doing whatever you're doing, that 250 calories is going to have to come from somewhere. And your body's like, hey, listen, no problem. And it goes around, sort of, by analogy, as an index. It's all the board meet, all the board is together. And the CEO is like, all right, nervous system, what are you doing with your calories? He's like, dude, I need to run the whole body. Are you crazy? Like, okay, we're not going to break down the nervous system for calories. That's insane. Muscular system. It's like, dude, I'm doing stuff. Now, we'll get to this later, but if you exercise a lot and you train with weights, the muscle's like, bro, I need all of this. Leave me alone. If you're sedentary and there's nowhere to go for calories, yeah, your muscle can be used for breakdown, but it's not super efficient to do that. It'll go to your organs, stomach, liver, brain, etc. This is important stuff. And then it goes over to body fat. Hey, body fat, what are you up to? It's, well, nothing at all. Why? What's wrong? You got any calories? What are you doing with them? And it's like, nothing. Give it up. And then so your body fat will release calories through various digestible forms of fat into your bloodstream. They will go wherever they're needed. And then that will supply that deficit. It'll fill up that deficit for you. So as measured internally in your body as a whole, you're at maintenance. But for your fat stores, you're at a severe deficit. And over hours and days and weeks and weeks and weeks, the amount of fat you're storing starts to winnow down. Your body's still operating pretty well. And that's fundamentally how you lose body fat, by creating a calorie deficit.